Hello guys, this is Philip and today I'm going to talk to you about dynamic. Dynamic is a new keyword in C Sharp 4. Actually, it's a contextual keyword, and if you've watched my previous videos on C Sharp 5 and the async CTP, you've heard me talk about the contextual keywords before. This is a quote from MSDN, which describes that a contextual keyword is used to provide a specific meaning in the code, but it's not a reserved word in C Sharp. And for those that have developed any MVC3 applications in the early days, when the preview and the release candidate were out, you've seen the dynamic keyword used in the views and how this was used to handle the models. I'm going to show you a demonstration of this in a little bit here. So C Sharp isn't a dynamic language, and even though there's a dynamic keyword, you have to know that this is actually a static type. So the dynamic keyword is actually a static type. So in the end, this is just an object that you use as any other object, right? So I'm going to show you a couple of demos. I'm going to start off by showing you how they did this in MVC3. It doesn't matter really if you know any MVC3 or any web development. I'm just going to show you a couple of cool ways that they made use of the dynamic keyword. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to create a page that's just going to display some information about a person. And so I'm going to expect a model, a dynamic model. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to be writing out the person's name, and I expect that the name is actually a property on my dynamic type here. So I expect that the model passed to my view here is going to have a property name. So if I go into my home controller here and add a new action result, and create a new expando object. The expando object is the object that you use when you want to create a dynamic type. So what I can do now is that I can add properties here. So for instance, I can add the name property. I could add the age. And I could even add a method to this if I want to. And all this works. It even compiles, and this is pretty cool. I could call my person dot my method. I could call person dot name. And you see here that I've got IntelliSense inside this context, but once that I go into my view again, I won't have this IntelliSense because the type is dynamic, so I'm not going to get any IntelliSense. So if I just return the relevant properties here for my person and go back into here and add another property, that is age, model.age. So what I have now is that I have a string and I have an integer, and let's see how this is represented on the web page. And there it is, Philip Ekberg, age 10. So this is how we might have seen the dynamic keyword used in the early version of ASP.NET MVC. I won't argue with you if this is the good way or the bad way to do it. Generally, you might want to have your models strongly typed. You might have seen here that I could add a method, and I want to show you an example that I can actually run and show you how this works. So I'm going to go into a console application here that I just created, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add some kind of method, dynamic x is equal to new expando object. X.SumMethod is equal to a new action, and this action will just do a console write line, hello Philip. And what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to invoke SumMethod, and I still get the IntelliSense because I'm in the same context here. And if I run this application here, it's going to say hello Philip. So what happened here is that it actually finds SumMethod at runtime, and so if I run this here, you see that it prints out hello Philip, and this worked. What I could even do is that I can remove the expando object here, and I could say that dynamic SumMethod and just say run SumMethod. If we have this person here and we add a couple of properties to this, Philip person.age is equal to 24, person.age is equal to 24, you see that we don't actually get any compilation errors, or we don't get any IntelliSense errors. So if I print this object here, console write my name is person dot name, and the age is that, and if I run this here, it's going to run just fine. This is one of the benefits of using the dynamic keyword, and also one of the pitfalls, because you don't have the IntelliSense to tell you when something is wrong, and you don't have any runtime checks that the value is actually set to something that you had up here. You expect that the person.age here is an integer, and when you're down here you change that to become a string instead. So what happens if I do, if person.age is bigger than 20, I do this, hello. So if I run this application here, hopefully I'm going to get an exception, and I did. But if I remove this 2 lines here and run the application again, it's going to say hello. So this has been a brief introduction to the dynamic keyword, and I've shown you how it's been used, and I've shown you some of the things that you need to be aware of. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for watching.